I said, why me? I ate organic food. I was good to the earth. I was a milk hauler and watched all these beautiful farms go away. We're a very foolish society. We had a sustainable lifestyle here.
I'd just like to say, from the bottom of my heart, thank you for coming here and for staying so late into the day to listen to the people of the North. We really appreciate it. I went down to the only hearing down in Madison on the 23rd, and I wasn't called up to speak. It got too late into the day, and with everybody wanting to get their voices heard, I guess I was just too young, too meek to get up there. But Representative Milroy, I did get you a copy of my testimony. I hope you've had an opportunity to share that with your colleagues. What I have here today is just, I guess, an evolved version of that. So I'm going to read to you now. After considering this new legislation proposed for the mining regulations and environmental standards of our state, as well as the recent study published by Lawrence University, I have this to ask of our legislators and representatives. Please, consider the science and real risk posed to the health of our people and our environment. Please, let not our state lead the nation in degradation. While Washington seeks a silver bullet for our nation's economic woes, let us consider the great wealth of water which crowns our northern shore. Let us learn to love the ecological wonders, to rebuild our economy on the integrity of wilderness and wildness. Let us not sign a sentence for our wetlands and rivers, but instead mind the creativity and ingenuity of our people for dreams and ideas of a different path. I'm just going to take a moment here to clarify that. The whole idea of a mine, the whole idea of machinery that goes into that process is built on dreams and ideas, and I believe that there is just a better way to change the economy of our state. So now I'll finish. Please, let us not seek an iron bullet for Wisconsin. Let us build a healthy future for ourselves, for our children, for our state, and for our nation. May Wisconsin lead the way. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank you. And did you say, if you got a written copy, did you make sure you provide one to Joey in the back there, or give it to the staff? And Joey, raise your hand, so we can make sure we...
I'll just give you my copy right here.
Oh.
Priceless, thank you. I
And
like
you-
the iron bullet
And
comment.
you can trust me with this, and you think I won't lose it? Thank you, that's very, very eloquent. We've got it now, thank you, I want that. Okay, Roy? Roy? Roy Sitges,
He's coming.
and then Diane Dalton. Diane's over here.
Good afternoon, you guys. I'm Roy Setgas. I live in Washburn, and I spent 8 years on the Bayfield County Board, which gives me a small appreciation for the experience that you guys are probably having in the legislature at this point. And you know, it's an exercise a great exercise in patience and dealing with frustration and trying to figure out how to channel it into a positive thing. And I think what you've created today is a positive thing. And my thread in what I say is going to be gratitude, I think. And my gratitude is going to start with you guys coming up here and exercising the patience and the respect that you have, your willingness to listen to people to their conclusion rather than, you know, trying to shuffle them into a 3-minute box. That's no small thing, and it's appreciated. It's really appreciated. And I've got 6 of your business cards here, Bob, with my notes on them. And we'll see how many of these points I actually touch on. Yeah, well,
I'm kidding.
that's okay. I could have written smaller. So I am here today not actually because I think this makes much of any difference at all in terms of mining legislation coming out of the state of Wisconsin right now. I really don't even know if it matters in that regard. I appreciate that you guys are fighting the good fight. You are outnumbered, and it appears like the system that we have, or the situation we have right now, is it's about numbers and the majority rules. And I mean, the fact that we have separate sort of hearings for the majority and the minority is telling enough. So my condolences to you for whatever this experience is like to sit in the Assembly and the Senate at this point. But I appreciate your efforts, even though I don't know if they make a heck of a lot of difference. The good news from my perspective, and one of the things I'm grateful for, is as I've followed this issue and I've gotten more informed about it, I don't have any fear that there's going to be a mine in the Penokee Mountains in any time in the foreseeable future. So I'm not actually worried about that. I think the threat is probably to other parts of the state that aren't as unified in their voice and aren't situated in such spectacularly pristine and treasured ecological sites. This is Lake Superior that this affects. Lake Superior is a world-class resource. This is not solely a Bad River issue. It is not a Native American issue. It's not a Wisconsin issue. It's actually a world issue. And so when I say it's not only a Bad River issue, it definitely is a Bad River issue, but it's more than that. It is an issue on all these different levels. And I'm trying to figure out how to say something that other people haven't said, because there's no point in going over this and taking up time saying it multiple times. One thing that I think I've sort of learned today as I tried to digest this down into sound bites for you guys is that this is actually kind of a perfect storm that's occurred here. We are sitting at a pivotal time in history. You know, we're trying to make a transition from a resource extractive economy, which we've inflicted on this continent and throughout the world. And we're trying to get to something different that works and sustains and allows generations into the future to live in a good way. And so, I mean, iron is like a classic. This stuff is, somebody ought to make a movie about this. This is classic stuff. It's iron. And what's the resource that people say is the absolute bottom line resource in this world? Fresh water. We're sitting on the biggest, most pristine chunk of fresh water in the world. You know, you can't make this stuff up. And in between the two sits the Bad River tribe. Bunch of people who have got screwed over and, you know, they speak for themselves very powerfully. And so I'm not going to try and characterize their situation. But the truth is they are leading the change in consciousness that is coming forward from this process. And so I'm just trying to say I'm seeing these things. It's like I don't even care about talking about this mine because it's not going to happen. It's not ecologically viable. It probably isn't even economically viable. It's at this point, as far as I can tell, it's people trying to become wealthier than they already are by messing around in the corporate world and trying to get the legislative world to grease the skids, so to speak, so they can extract more money from the system. I don't think they particularly think they're going to pull iron ore out of the Penokees at this point. They've probably seen the handwriting on the wall and they're not even going for it. But the legislation, who knows what that may do to help them amass more than they already have. So I'm just trying to spin out my view from the big picture because I don't think the mine is really the issue. I think a lot of the rest of Wisconsin is an issue, and yeah, I'm just going to go and not take a whole lot more time, but I'm going to go back to gratitude, and I'm going to thank you guys for, and I'd like to thank particularly Senator Schultz, who's taken, a profoundly courageous role in this whole process. And, we wouldn't be talking to each other right now if he hadn't cast his vote the way he did the last time. This would have just been railroaded through. But we are talking about it, and I don't know how it's going to play out this time, but what this whole process has done has helped us as a community and as individuals in this community remember who we are, what is important, and even more than what's important, what we really love here. And that's going to be what comes out of this that's actually going to make a change, because, the system in Madison from this perspective appears to be broken. It's just a partisan, and it doesn't appear to be getting anywhere. But you have helped us look around and look at our neighbors and say, hey, we agree on this. The whole community isn't in here today. But, the more people who learn about this and really look into it, the more they understand this mine doesn't make sense. The costs far outweigh the benefits. So I'm just gonna throw those up because I didn't follow them anyway. And yeah. And thank you guys again, and good luck. My condolences, and keep up the good fight, and we're in support of you, whatever you're actually able to do down there.
Thank you.
Now, going back to one of my cards, 4 pieces of advice for you, if I can find the right one.
Wait a minute. Now you threw them away.
Yeah, I did. My requests, A, these are specific, sort of tangible requests. Do not weaken current law. If you have to do it, if you have to fine tune it, fine. Make it better, don't weaken it. 2, remember, I think Larry McDonald said it, do no harm to the water. That's a pretty simple, easy thing to do, and it would cover a lot of ground here. The third thing is, if you're going to try and rewrite legislation here, talk to the tribes. From my perspective, they're the ones who are actually making sense on this issue. And the fourth thing is, remember who you serve. And I believe you guys do, or you wouldn't be here today. You are elected by us and you serve us. You do not serve the Klein Corporation or, that whole side of the equation. You serve us.
Thank you.
Thanks, you guys.
Thank you very much.
You're listening to a special live broadcast of a listening session at the American in Ashland on the Democratic and Republican iron ore mining bills on Wisconsin Public Radio Stations 90.9 WUWS in Ashland, 91.3 KUWS in Superior, and 97.7 WRNC.
Is anyone hungry in the room? I will make this quick. I've learned a lot today here, listening to all the different testimony. One of the interesting things I learned early on my trip in from the radio was that I'm an implant. Not quite what I thought I was, not at all what I thought. But I started doing the math, and I've actually lived in this area in northern Wisconsin, focused around Ashland for 30 plus years. Yikes. So I'd like to just share some written comments and then a quick story. I'm writing to express, obviously, my opposition to SB AB1, the iron mining bill that we've all been talking about today. I live a few miles from the proposed mine site in Gurnee, not the one in Illinois, but the one near Saxon Harbor. And I have a background in soil and water management and geology. I've spent about 20 years as a soil and water conservationist in this area and also as an educator. And it should also be known that my comments today reflect my private citizen opinions and not those as any employee of a government agency. I oppose this bill primarily as it weakens the environmental protections for our groundwater, wetlands, and surface water for iron mining activities here and also elsewhere in the state. Ashland and Iron County and the proposed mine site are rich in clean water, and endangering this important resource is neither good for the economy nor the long-term future of area residents. Lake Superior and the Bad River and Kakagan sloughs have been designated as resources of international environmental importance, yet we would weaken environmental standards and put them at risk. Our economy should be built with long-term environmental health at its core and with respect for the cultural diversity of our region. I've always been proud of Wisconsin's legacy as a conservation leader, but this legislation does not follow in the footsteps of Aldo Leopold or Senator Nelson. It greatly impairs our ability to protect Lake Superior and the Bad River watershed. Even if I were in favor of developing a Penokee ore body in this sensitive watershed, I would still object to this bill as it does not require the mining company to adequately reimburse local communities for the impacts of an iron mine. Not just for the short-term roads and infrastructure, but for what are termed environmental services. In other words, the long-term value of clean land and water, and perhaps even something as simple as a scenic view, maybe even seen from the perspective of a deer or a porcupine. In other words, this mine should impact our communities into the foreseeable future, perhaps for many hundreds of years. The company should be held responsible for these costs in return for the profit they take. Lastly, I wonder if this ore body were located in the bluffs of the Mississippi or along that pretty corridor near Madison or in Door County, how different the bill would look, or if it would exist at all. If we were to reform our mining laws, it should be done with careful planning and a full range of public input, not using language from a specific company or any single interest group who may be in a position to influence the outcome. Thank you so much for your sharing your patience here today and listening to my opinions as a resident of Iron County. And I want to just close with a quick story. In addition to being a resident of Iron County, I've also had the pleasure of working with a group of artists and science folks that have been collaborating on the Penokee Explore the Iron Hills exhibit, which is at the Visitor Center for a few more days or weeks. And our group, through no doing of my own, picked an image that I created as the poster child for the exhibit. And we used an Inuit design that's basically a little stone man to represent the balance between human use of the region and the environment. And I hope that kind of in the back of my mind at the time, I thought, wouldn't it be cool if those started popping up around the landscape and that people would replicate what we had created in their own backyard. And so I guess I think it would be fun for us to envision our area coming to solidarity with our friends from the tribe and other folks and give that some thought. So thank you very much again, and hopefully I won't take up any more of your time. Hopefully you'll have a quick conclusion to the meeting and you can get to your dinners.
Terry? Okay. So let me go through a couple more. I think you're all staying, but Savo, Jennifer, Joel, Jeff, Robin. That's not all, but I'm just trying to,
You ready now?
I'm ready.
You ready? Okay. I don't live in Ashland. I live in New Auburn. In the last 2 years, the DNR licensing has been released enough so that they can build a sand plant right next to a wetlands. The wetlands is probably 4 miles away from our 20-acre farm. I grow organic vegetables, okay? It's sand extraction. We're not talking about, you know, a lot of minerals. We're just talking about moving the earth around. But the water quality at our house, in our well, it's not so sweet. It's not so sweet as when we first dug our well 7 years ago. So I am against this mining. I think that the economics far outweigh the detriments. There's other ways to create jobs. We're at a pivotal point in our lives, in our world. It's time to save our limited resources and utilize other replaceable, renewable resources in our technology. That's all I have to say. Oh, I'm that person that's never talked in front of. Thank you.
Thank you. Savo? Savo?
I have a short speech that I had prepared, and I'll try and make it quick and concise. I know my brain is starting to feel kind of numb, and I've only been here since noon. So, my name is Savo Newcomb Reckmeyer, and I'm 21 years old. I've lived in Ashland and Bayfield counties for most of my life, and currently live in Bayfield County in the township of Lincoln on my parents' land. I grew up here with our clean water, good fishing, hunting, and plethora of beautiful wooded hiking trails and campgrounds. I was overjoyed last year when I heard the Mining Bill AB426 was not approved. When I heard that it was back, rewritten as SB1 and SB1, I was not surprised but saddened. The so-called streamlining is nothing more than the gutting of current environmental standards as a sweetheart deal so that Gogebic taconite can steamroll their mine through without due caution in this sensitive watershed, nor have to deal with the ramifications of the environmental fallout. It also hamstrings the approval process for this and future mining, entirely removing the clout of the public's voice in the permitting process. The taconite ore itself is covered with a layer of black pyritic shale and slate, which, when dumped into the massive proposed tailings field covered in wetlands, streams, and rivers, will certainly leach sulfuric acid into the entire Bad River watershed. The Marengo River, part of the Bad River watershed, lies a quarter mile to the west and north of where my family and I live. We have a well that is drilled to the approximate depth of the water table of the Marengo River Valley adjacent to our house. The likely acid drainage will end up directly in our personal water supply. There is a thriving hunting, fishing, artist, tourist, and sustainable farming industry locally, which will perpetuate indefinitely. The small number of jobs created by the mine will only last 35 years or until the mine is no longer profitable and will leave the environment toxic for our otherwise perpetual use. It will also leave us with a bust economy that is worse than it was before. I hope to buy land in this area and build a small farm in the near future, but I will now be waiting to see what the future of our northern community holds and will move someplace else if I have to. I am also disheartened by the closed-door approach on AB1, SB1. Last year, there were 2 local hearings up north, and at both, the response was decidedly opposed to AB 426 in the mine. So far, there has been only one official hearing to date on this new legal monstrosity, as far away from the proposed mine site as you can possibly be, in Madison, on a Wednesday, when most people directly affected would be unable to attend. That the Committee on Mining is not here with Senator Jauch and Representative Bewely says quite a bit to me. I have heard that some people believe that it is only the Bad River Band of the Chippewa who care about the legislation in mind, but this is completely untrue. I know many people from all walks of life who are opposed to this legislation and the mine because of the threat to the health and well-being of everyone in our community. In conclusion, I would like to talk about taconite mines that have successfully created revenue while safeguarding the environment, but I cannot. Of the 10 taconite mines in the U.S., all of them have significantly polluted their surrounding environment. Thank you for hearing me.
Thank you.
Thanks, Savo.
Jennifer, followed by Joel, followed by Jeff.
Well,
Who's
thank
that
you.
young person with you that's been so patiently sitting?
That is my son, Glendon. who has been sitting here most of the day very patiently, partly
He's
because...
terrific, and thank you. You've
Yes.
been really a good young man.
And I was going to introduce him. He has been sitting here patiently all day, partly because he is a great kid, but also because he understands how important this issue is. And he has said to me several times over the course of the last 2 years, this isn't fair. Kids should be allowed to vote too. This affects us too. So I'm here partly on his behalf, speaking for him. My name is Jenny Mahan. I'm here largely as a very concerned citizen. I'm here as a mother, like we just talked about, of a young child that attends the Ashland School District and drinks the water in Ashland on a regular basis. I'm also here as a registered nurse who work as a visiting nurse, which means I travel from home to home throughout the communities of Ashland and Bayfield counties, including out to Odana, down to Mellon, all the way up to Bayfield, Washburn, Port Wing, all the way down to Barnes and Gordon, all over the place. And I just, as a side note, wanted to comment, Kaya had asked, brought up the question whether this mine, should it go through, would be visible or audible from Ashland or Washburn or whatever. And I can tell you, in my travels, you can see the Penokees clearly, except the most foggiest days, from LaPointe, from Bayfield, from Washburn, from Muckwa, from the hills up in Washburn. It's going to affect a lot more than just the immediate area. So anyway, I wanted to comment on a comment that Mr. Sullivan made during the committee hearing that I was listening to on the radio. Something about this is the climate of business in Wisconsin, that companies wouldn't even consider us because our laws were so strict. And I would just like to comment that there's more to life than business. And business, in nursing, we're trained, it's a holistic profession, and we're trained to look at the patient as a whole person, which means their physical health, their mental health, their emotional, spiritual health, but also their socioeconomic factors, which includes finances, obviously. And working as I do in the community, I'm very familiar with the cycles of poverty and illness up here. I understand the cry for jobs, and that does need to be addressed, but not in this way. We need to get our priorities straight instead of pandering to a large vested interest for business and only in sake of business in Wisconsin, and start putting what really matters first, which is the health of the public, truly sustainable jobs in our northern communities and throughout the state. I also wanted to comment on a comment that was made by an individual speaking at the hearing recently, and she made a very impassioned speech about concerned about her children leaving the area and not coming back because of the lack of good jobs and whatnot. And that is also something I can definitely empathize with, being the mother of a young child and thinking about what the future holds. I would like to point out, though, that many, many people come to this area because of what we have here. I came here to go to school years ago, and I stayed and put down roots and built a family because this landscape is amazing and this community is amazing. These people will bend over backwards to watch your back for you. We take care of each other. My fiance came here for the same reasons, because Lake Superior is here, because of the community of people that are here. I have a friend from Colorado. I have many friends who have come to the area and left and returned for that same reason. I have a friend specifically from Colorado who she and her partner came here because they were fleeing the fracking in Colorado that was destroying their front yard. And now, where does it end? Somebody was speaking eloquently earlier about when does it end? When do we finally say this place is sacred enough, special enough that no, it stops here? My parents have recently bought property in northern Wisconsin. They're of retirement age pretty soon in the next few years, and their plan was to move up here to be next to their only grandchild, and me, but mostly the grandchild. And I have to tell you, they are seriously having second thoughts because of this issue, and not just the way that it will affect this community should this go through, but the climate in Wisconsin overall and how the politics in Wisconsin that are happening right now, but also this bill in particular, should it go through, how it will affect the entire state. I think that the concern is legitimate, trying to have our families stay here and have it be sustainable and viable for us to be here. But we need to also realize why people are here and what's bringing and keeping them here. And it's not a 1,000-foot hole in the ground that is going to make a very small number of jobs for a very short amount of time. I also wanted to touch really quickly on the precautionary principle, which I talked about back in Hurley last year. And I think it's really important. It needs to be driven home over and over again. This idea of first do no harm. You know, in the medical professions, you're trained with this idea that, you know, you don't just wildly run off doing something. You first make sure you don't cause more harm. Then you use an evidence-based approach to create a solution or a mode of healing that is actually going to work and has been proven to work. That kind of leads me to the laws that we do have, the so-called moratorium laws. It's kind of backwards to say that because GTAC wants certainty in their permitting process that we should change the good laws that we have. The laws that we have, in my understanding, is that if you can't prove that you can do this safely, then you aren't allowed to do it here, which seems to me just common sense and, applies to this precautionary principle. The purpose of our government is not to provide certainty to a single vested interest or a certain group of vested interests. It's here to protect the public health, sustainable jobs, like I said, all of that. So I think this bill needs to be scrapped completely. I don't think there's any point in trying to amend it. I'm talking about AB1, SB1. I don't think there's any point in trying to amend it and make it better, put lipstick on a pig. We need to get rid of it. Just like we said with AB 426, we're saying it again, get rid of it. If you're gonna change something, that's fine. But like the gentleman before me a little bit said, make what we have better and stronger. And I think that's all I have to say.
What is your son's name again?
His name is Glendon.
Glendon?
Yes.
G?
Glinden.
G-E-N.
D-E-N,
D-E-N.
sorry. Thank you for your
Lyndon,
time.
thank
really,
you for
really
being
appreciate
here
it.
today.
Thank you, Jenny.
I know your mom's proud of you, but you're proud of her. Joel Austin?
Hi, I'm Joel Austin. Live about 10 miles that way. I wasn't planning on speaking today, but you called my name, so what the heck? Yeah. Oh, yeah. All right, it's meant to be. So I've been here since about noon, 5.5 hours or so. I was just going to say that since then, and I'm sure you're going to take this message back to the people that couldn't be here, the other legislators, that everyone except one person that I've heard today, I think it's been just one, has been opposed to this bill. I guess I'd just like to point that out, and I'm sure you realize it anyway, but just take that back to the legislatures that aren't here. So, thank you.
Thank you very much, Joel.
Thank you,
Thanks for
Joel.
being here. Jeff Silbert?
Oh, come on, he's here. Jeff,
No, not.
where'd he go? Jeff Silver, yeah.
Robin Nellis. Nellis? Is Robin here?
I'd like to have someone speak for me.
Well, sure, you can have somebody speak for you. Except somebody who's spoken before.
No,
You
come
can
on.
come up here. I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding you.
Hi, Devin.
Anine again, speaking on behalf of Robin Ellis. I guess I'd just like to point out the fact, Robin's family, as long as my family, have been here for hundreds, thousands of years. We'd like to acknowledge Nikomis Gami. That means our grandmother, Lake Superior, the Great Lake. Also like to acknowledge Mishomis Pewabic, which is the Penokee Hills, translatable to grandfather iron. One of the things in our culture is we look at water as in a female sense and a grandmother sense. Well, if we look at rocks and stones, you look at that as our grandfathers. There's many different reasons. I'd say one reason is because water and rocks, they were the first. When the earth was formed, they were the first. They're the oldest of all creation. I mean, it's water and rocks. That's where mankind come from. You know, that's how we started. So I'd just like to acknowledge that. I'd like to acknowledge the rice beds, Minoman. I'd like to acknowledge all the wildlife, Wawazeshki, the deer, Makwa, the bear, Gigu, the fish, Migizi, Gnu, both bald and American or golden eagle. We like to acknowledge all them animals. We like to acknowledge their spirits, because all them spirits are here with us. They're all listening in. And when I came here this morning, I have a wooden bowl over there by the camera crew. In this bowl, we have a nibi, some cedar, and some asema. Asema means tobacco, and we have that there. The reason why I have that bowl there is that's the water spirit. And I believe, as many other people here believe, that the water spirit, they have a right to hear what's going on. They have the right to hear that people are talking about what's going to affect them. Everybody, all the spirits, whether it's animal or plant or nature, they have a right to hear what's going to affect them. Because it's not just going to affect man, it's going to affect nature too. It's one of our beliefs. So just giving the knowledge to the spirits. One thing that mankind, we often forget is that we are nothing. The spirits are everything. The spirits are here before mankind was here. And the spirits will be here after mankind is here. We as human beings, we need spirits. Spirits don't need us. However you look at it, if you look at your creator as God, Gitchimanadu, Buddha, Allah, however you look at your creator, every religion is set up in a spiritual system. You might not look at the religion as spiritual, but every religion is spiritual throughout mankind, throughout religion. So we just like to acknowledge the spirits. Let the spirits know that we are speaking for them. We're fighting for the spirits. We're fighting for mankind. Miigwech.
Thank you. Buffalo North, run up. Followed by Anna Romero. Anna here. Followed by Ernest. Followed by Deborah. Getting down here. Followed by Elena. I'm sorry, I'm just reading off a couple of names. Go ahead, please. Go ahead.
I can start?
You may.
Okay. My name is Buffalo Nellis, and I forgot what I was going to say. I'm a Native American. I'm Crane Clan. I was born in Minneapolis, and my mom brought me up to the northern area. I grew up in Odena. I don't know. I didn't know too much what was going on. I know there was mining. Like, oh, the mines, land mines? No, mines, oring, you know. I was like, oh, okay. So, you know, everyone was it was a heated situation, so I tried to steer clear of it. And today my mom was like, well, I'm going to this, you know, this talking convention. I was like, all right, I'm going to go check it out. They're like, yeah, you can sign up and talk too. I was like, no, I don't want to talk about anything I didn't research on. Well, I sat here and I realized, I looked around, my relatives are here, my family's here, you know, people that I've looked up to for help when I was a small child, people that I still turn to for help today. And they're all here, and it's affecting them. And, you know, once something like that affects the people that are closest to me, it really kind of gets me going. You know, it touches me in like a very sensitive way also. So I went out there, signed up, waited patiently. You know, I didn't mind waiting at all for everyone else that had to say what they had to say, because they said some good things. I didn't disagree with anyone, for or against, because, I think, whatever people believe, there's not going to be a mine. Oh, there might be mining, there's people on both sides, and sometimes people deserve to have their faith rewarded. I guess from my standpoint, this doesn't help me or anything, because, okay, so there's no mine, no jobs, I lose. Okay, so there's jobs, the mine has jobs, there's no body of water capable of sustaining life, I lose. And lately I've been searching for a better walk of life for myself. I did it by myself, for myself. But as an individual, I can't keep going on as an individual, because as an individual, I'm part of an entire community. So with that, I checked myself into rehab. I'm proudly standing here sober, so I could speak my mind. And a lot of people are like, yeah, you should speak your mind. Well, okay. Well, then, so that walk of life, step one, I started in South Dakota. And in South Dakota, when we drove around to various meetings, we had to drive around a big mine. And it was really deep. I couldn't see the bottom from the road. But we had to go about 20 minutes out of the way just to get to Sioux Falls. And there was big construction trucks. The wheels on these things were like 5 times my height. And I said, holy moly, And I heard about the mining issue up north when I saw it down there. And I was like, I don't want to see that. I don't want to have to drive around that up north. And then from there, while I was building my life, getting a general idea of what I want to do, then that's where I decided, oh, am I going to want to stick around north? Or am I going to want to go and check everything else out? It's like, no, I want to stay up north, I'm up here for a reason. This is where I was, this is where I live. This is where my life is. So, I do volunteer work all the time. My work is, I'm part of an electronic recycling program. And what I do then all day is take apart computers for the various, rare metals inside. And what do? I recycle it. We don't go get more of it, we recycle it. Because this stuff can't end up in landfills, whatever we pull out of the earth, And you sure as hell can't put it back where you found it. So, I don't know. In all honesty, like I said, neither for or against. I'm proud to be here with the rest of my family and the people, because, regardless of who the powers that be are, the people that I elect, that we all elect into office, that's the voice as a whole, and that's you guys, so I'm very thankful to get to be able to talk to you guys. And I don't know, I guess I'm proud to take my place in the battle against corruption. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you for speaking, and all the best to you.
Hey, Devin, way to go. Good job.
Anna?
Oh, Buffalo. You too, Devin. No, Buffalo, really.
Anna?
Okay.
All right.
Hi, my name is Ana Romero. I'm 17 years old, and I currently go to Ashland High School.
Closer to the microphone. You gotta talk voice.
Okay.
Hard to hear you.
My name is Ana Romero. I'm 17, and I currently go to Ashland High School. But I'm actually not really from around here. I'm from California. I'm a foster child. My foster mom just went home, but I'm going to catch a ride with Essie. And I just wanted to say that, I'm a city girl because I came from California and just been in the city all my life. Coming out here to see all this beauty and all the water, and this is actually my first white winter. So it's pretty cool to see all the snow. I'm really excited about it. And so I wouldn't really want to see a mining going on around here because I want to remember this place being beautiful, and I'd like to come back and see this place as beautiful. I don't want to see clouds of gray and not being able to do anything. I've heard a lot of people, talking their mind all day long. Been here since like 8:30, so. So I just want to remember this place as beautiful, and I want to come back as beautiful. Thank you.
Thank you. Ernest Martinson. Ooh. Deborah Healy. Followed by Ileana Henry. Ileana? Sorry for mispronouncing. I apologize. Okay.
Hello. This one? This one. Thank you. Thanks. I just want to say thank you. I'm going to keep this very brief. It's been a long day. But I'm just pleased that I can be here with all these people and speak up for what we believe in our hearts and minds is true, and stand united together and have you listening and lending your support. That's it. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank you. Deborah Healy. Deborah? She, right?
I'm Deborah.
Oh, you're Deborah. I'm sorry. Ileana is what I meant to say.
Actually, you meant to say Eilina.
Eilina?
Yeah.
That's really what I meant to say.
Yeah, my name's Eilina Henry. I'm originally from northern Nevada, but I stand with Bad River Nation on this mining issue. And I don't believe that there will be a mine up here. There's too many good people up here. They love their brook trout. They love their wild rice and their fresh water and fresh air. But I agree that, this is very unthinkable, unfathomable proposal, and it doesn't make sense. In Nevada, we have one of the highest unemployment rates in the whole nation, and that's like a mining state. That's what Nevada is. It's mining. And the native people there are so impoverished. And, like Devin was mentioning, the Walker River Paiute tribe, their unemployment rate is over 80%. Their water is already polluted, and so is mine as a native Nevadan. I've never thought about drinking the water that comes out of the faucet. It was always bottled water. We have a lot of uranium issues, water issues. And when I moved up here, when I was about her age, 17, 18, I was just wowed about, I was kind of scared of the trees because it's like so many trees. I felt like it was just walls everywhere. I'm used to seeing the whole mountain range all around me, miles and miles of open space. But once I got past that, I was wowed at all the plants and all the biodiversity in this region. And I learned all my trees within northern Minnesota. And also, I was just wowed that, there's artesian wells and springs. You could just stop your car on the side of the road and drink right out of that faucet that's ever flowing. And I thought that was something special. I still feel that like that's the gold, and I just cherish that part of this world and this Lake Superior we live by. And you could just go down there and feel the Great Spirit there and how special it is. And truly it is like a superior place. I don't have all the answers, but my time living here, I've learned about sustainable development, especially here at the Northland College. I feel like all the young adults there are very excited for their futures and developing sustainable ways of life, farming locally, and providing our own food, becoming independent, independent of all those, food from Mexico getting shipped in and the burning of fossil fuels. Also, I love that a lot of the people in the Northland are, hunter people, hunter-gatherer, and very respectful. The native people have always believed, you know, hunting is a way of life, a way of survival, not for sport. I enjoy harvesting, you know, blueberries and just the wild berries. You could just go out and just know all the edibles, and it's very special. Another thing that was special was my family taught me how to harvest wild rice when I moved here, and they taught me how to provide for myself that way. I can provide myself food and income if I need to. I can sell the rice. And I think any kind of mind is just very threatening of that way of life and, you know, that independence. And it threatens farming. We're very dependent on water, and that's what we need. And water is sacred. And I think we shouldn't be acting on these types of things because these old ways of mining have been proven in the past to be detrimental, and not for just a short while, but forever. They leach acid mine drainage. And even like Southern Africa, the gold mines there, they're a big problem. Nobody wants to pick up the slack for that. You know, years ago they got the gold out, and sure, the economy flourished for a little while, but nobody wants to pay for that past damage. I just want if there's going to be mining in the future, I just want there to be a way that people can prove it first. And, you know, don't just fall into this easy way of life and easy thinking that we've become so accustomed to as, you know, humankind. It's all about getting things fast and easy. And sometimes you just have to work harder and be inventive. And I guess that's all I have to say. And I didn't want to speak because I'm not a very good speaker, but I felt like I just need to speak for my grandchildren's grandchildren, because I feel like it's taking away from them. And anybody else who wants a job right here and now, it doesn't affect them. It affects our children's children. So.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Charles Ortman, followed by Frank Kane, followed by Eric Schubring, followed by Warren Anderson. We're getting down there. We keep adding names.
I would have liked to thank a whole table, but I know some people had to go, and I appreciate you all coming here like you would not believe. Bob, I love you. Thank you for all you've done. Senator Schultz, wow, you know, he saved the day one time. Hopefully all of you, I'm sure I would love you as well. I don't know you as much. Representative Milroy, I was sitting behind you when you spoke on the 23rd, and I wanted to shake your hand, but you had a pop in it, and you needed to get the hell out of there, and I know why. I had a whole bunch of notes here of stuff I was going to cover, unfortunately. All these wonderful people, my brothers and sisters, they covered it. Somebody who's gone now said earlier, and this just tickled me pink because that's me, I am human overburden. Before you get to that iron, you're going to have to peel me off of that hill, along with most of these people, if not all of them. So thank you for that term, because that's how I'm going to describe myself from now on. In the meantime, I have a short little rehashed speech I gave to Miss Williams in Hurley. But it's my favorite one I've ever written about this. And so I'm going to read it and then get the hell out of the way. I call it Hetch Hetchy. Hetch Hetchy Valley is a glacial valley in Yosemite National Park in California. It is currently completely flooded by O'Shaughnessy Dam, forming the Hetch Hetchy Reservoir. It was such a beautiful place that when the prospect of damming it up came up, it inspired John Muir to exclaim, "Dam Hetch Hetchy, as well dam for water tanks, the people's cathedrals and churches, for no holier temple has ever been consecrated by the heart of man." That is how people up here feel about the Penokees. take that back to whoever you think you can switch on this bill. Taconite open pit mines are large and they are water killers. You will not find one that could pass the prove it first law. They don't exist. All the evidence anyone needs to prove this is available from the DNRs and pollution control agencies of Michigan and Minnesota. In the same breath as some are denying any pollution associated with taconite mining, they will tell you new technology will clean it up. What they won't tell you is what this new technology is or why it hasn't cleaned up Michigan and Minnesota's pollution. Be that as it may, even if taconite mining were virtually pollution-free, the Penokees are our Hetch Hetchy. There is a reason a state park exists just down the river from the proposed mine site. Copper Falls State Park is beautiful and wet. Miles of trails follow the rivers and falls. Tyler Forks is one of these rivers. It is in the middle of land that was leased by the mine. If you haven't visited the land being eyed for this mine, you need to, and I know most of you have. Thank you. Then ask yourself if you would trade the top for the bottom of this beautiful area. There is no way that a 4-mile long, half-mile wide, 900-foot deep hole just upstream from Copper Falls State Park is not going to significantly diminish it. There are some places you leave be, regardless of the riches under them, simply because the riches on top are priceless. The Penokees are just such a place. The positive things being addressed or expressed about this mine are probably all true, maybe not to the degree promised, but no one can argue that this mine will not stimulate direct and indirect economic activity. It is also undeniable that it will be at the expense of the water and the land. So I ask this committee, when you are looking in the mirror and weighing the positives and negatives of this bill, at the end of every positive, be sure to add at the expense of the water and the land. Then please realize that current mining laws look out for the water and the land and reject this bill for the instrument of pollution it is. Thank you.
Thank you, Charlie.
Thank you, Charlie.
Frank King.
You're listening to a special live broadcast of a listening session at the American in Ashland on the Democratic and Republican iron ore mining bills from Wisconsin Public Radio Stations 90.9 WUWS, 91.3
Oh, that's fine.
KUWS, and
I know we can't ask
97.7
questions, but
WRNC.
maybe Representative Smith could tell me where he's from.
I'm from Shell Lake.
Shell Lake, awesome. All right.
Raised in Rice Lake.
Yeah, I think I remember that now. Well, I do want to thank you for coming. Frank Kane is my name. I live in Ashland, and I also live in Herbster, depending on what the week holds for me. And I do want to thank you for coming up here for this listening session. I've had the privilege of traveling around the state of Wisconsin talking about the Penokees and the mining project and the bills. And a year and a half ago, we had to put slides up to show where Iron County was, where Ashland County was, and very few people had ever heard of Bad River or the Kakagan Sloughs. Most people were stunned when they discovered that there was also the homeland of the Lake Superior Ojibwe. That's not the case anymore. And we started out talking to 15 people, and now we talk to anywhere from 50 to 250, because people are really interested in this. What you did today with this listening session, and basically it is a public hearing for us, is that we've got Wisconsin Eye, we've got the Wisconsin Citizens Media Cooperative here, we've got Paul Domain running live, we've got WOJB maybe here too, but also the Northern College radio station. And that's huge, because this is traveling all over the world. And I'll leave you with this thought. The ceded territory is a precious place. It's probably one of the only places in the world where indigenous rights have been codified. And that makes it extremely unique. And that uniqueness opens up in many, many ways. The country of Bhutan was looking at mining. They're looking at doing some pretty serious mining down there. A fellow by the name of J. Matthew Fifield went down to talk to the people in Bhutan. The Crown Prince is apparently somewhat in charge of this project. His letter to the people about Foresight Energy, which is owned by Chris Klein, was interesting when he cited his concerns about the way Fifield, Klein, and the Foresight Energy people treated the people in Ashland County, Wisconsin, US of A. GTAC, when I told that to Bill Williams, I couldn't find it on the website, so I was very respectful and provided him a link to my website that has the articles on there. This truly is a worldwide issue, and partly, or maybe completely, because of this concept of ceded territory and reserved rights by people who lived here before we did. And I know my ancestors came from Europe, but I never quite understood what the Europeans were. Some were in France, and they got moved to Canada, and they were kicked out in the Evangeline era and ended up in New Orleans and managed to get back to Missouri. That was the French side. The Irish side, there was something about a brick that slipped out of someone's hand and hit an Englishman in the side of the head, and he decided to leave the country. But with him, passed on to my grandpa, were all the stories. And as a kid, I would explain to him what the Northern Lights were, and he would correct me. And he taught me many things about the old ways in Ireland that we had long forgotten, disappeared. And it wasn't until I moved back up to the North Country. I was raised down between Glidden and Mellon. Moved back up to the North Country that I found other people that had those same perceptions, those same stories. Not exactly the same, a little different, but still that touch with what goes on. And my grandfather always told us we had 6 senses, the dream world and intuition and things like that. And he said that's called the gut feeling about life. And my gut feeling about this is there won't be a mine, and I think what you did today will be very significant in that journey. So I do want to thank you.
The Native people also knew that the Creator had given everything for us to survive on this earth.